I've been thinking about this Occupy Wall Street problem recently, and I've been running my head around it. Like, what would you do to make things right? And for me, I can't really think of anything else because, well, it's really hard to explain without being really stretched out about it, but just this non-renewable infrastructure we have isn't working anymore because the oil prices are too high, and it creates a problem of pollution. So the only solution I've ever found, or think I found, or the only thing I could think of to come up with, let's put it that way, is renewable energy. But then I was thinking about that, and I'm like, well, okay, there's problems with renewable energy. Okay. I could get into a lot of it, but basically, wind and solar and tidal, they all rely on infrastructures of the things to make them generate energy. And if it's not net positive, in other words, if you're not getting more energy out of it than you're putting into it, it won't work. And unfortunately, while it's a lot cleaner for the environment, it's been said that there's really no way to make passive renewable energy self-producing. You would think so from all the energy from the sun. And that's basically what powers it, and well, everything. But just to do it economically, the factories, the manufacturing, the repair, the installation, taking all the items out to create a working infrastructure to keep the energy infrastructure going won't work. Or so they say. It's said that you need cheap oil to keep it functioning, which might not be so bad, considering that it would considerably stretch out and reduce the carbon footprint and our need for oil. So that wouldn't be too bad. Well, unless you're using more oil to make it, then it's not really being ecological at all. So, what would be both ecological and net positive? Well, that would be bio-oil. Because with bio-oil, especially bio-waste, you can have a localized energy source, and that way you can create cheap plastics from it, from any waste stream. And that's the good news, because that cuts the pollution, and you can farm a lot of hydrocarbons out of landfills, the sea, that swirling friggin' plastic thing in the Pacific. You could have whole ships running out there friggin' collecting plastic running off friggin' solar. Maybe robotic ships salvaging goods and items that have been thrown overboard and just cleaning while it goes, like a big friggin' pool cleaner. It runs on its own power. I mean, you could have a sea anchor, well, I don't know if that would work, but you could put friggin' sails on the stupid thing, and why not? In any case, the point is that that's the only way I see economically being a solution is to lower the cost of living. In other words, and with lowering the cost of living, you're lowering the cost of small business to function. Put in some kind of tax barrier where the advantage is small independent owned businesses, and then you would have to have a kind of a co-op organization to have any kind of conglomeration. So corporate, yiddy yaddy doo dah would freaking have to freaking play ball with the local small time person. Now this works great for agriculture too, because a natural subsidy could be bio-waste in the form of freaking natural ag waste, bad crops. A ranch has an infestation. They can't use freaking livestock for some reason. Mad cow disease. There's a lot of things in agriculture people don't talk about, but needless to say, things happen. Cows expire and they're useless. It costs money to haul them away and have them destroyed. Where as grim as it is with bio-waste, it would be a small benefit, because that could be a useful, honestly, fuel item, because it's waste and it's bio-waste. See. But anyway, that's a little macabre, but it would work. Now, in the pet industry, what you would do is you would create a humanitarian set of regulations where all the puppy mills and everything else would be shut down, and it would be from the pound to the puppy store and back. Everyone might want a puppy, but there's enough strays and unspayed animals that get out to keep the population going. So if it ever falls below, people could get licenses, local licenses, and raise the dog limit from 3 to 5. So that way it would be, you could shelter more animals. Maybe have adoption, like they do for foster care for animals. Foster pets. There you go. You know what I mean? And with the idea of veterinary medicine being socialized to work all the kinks out for socialized medicine on people, that might be a good idea. Well, maybe a good idea on how to freaking set up a system that would actually work, And mostly this would be for pet animals and animals declared as pets. Not horses and cows and sheep and pigs. Well, at least non-pet pigs. But anyway, all this would be, bio-waste. Except you wouldn't have the pounds having to put down perfectly good animals anymore. And there's medical waste. Some people might choose alternative methods of disposal, instead of burial. Maybe they would choose to have a genetic legacy left intact, or some kind of video tribunal, some virtual time capsule, of who you were. thousands of hours of your person, as much as you care to add. Unless you were paranoid about that being used against you in life or something, I don't know. Privacy issues right there. Anyway, that could be a useful source of bio waste. So could water treatment centers. I mean, after all, why grow food? Why grow ethanol or crops just for gasoline or ethanol when it can serve the very useful function of going through you or a farm animal? You see, it serves a purpose and then goes down the drain, and then it's another form of waste that serves the purpose of generating electricity or plastic, or creates materials for a solar panel or a windmill or cheap building material, and then or a hothouse, so you can have off-season produce supported by local farms that will be subsidized if they get bad crops. You see, so that way it all becomes an alternative energy source and a source for building material. And this would be the best coefficient of using the resources of solar power in all its various forms, which is tidal, solar, growing, and wind. Once you use those four, then you would only need a small use of fossil fuels to add in, and that could add centuries. And with certain aspects of bio-waste, you can use coal. You can actually use some bio-waste processes to take out all impurities of coal and use them for industrial purposes, into building things in industry that you need without polluting, and putting it back into the waste stream to be recycled over again, to use as fertilizer, certain chemicals to use in industry for building certain items, or things that you need metal for that are embedded in it. I mean, toaster ovens really wouldn't be too good made out of plastic. You're going to need some metals, glass, and ceramics, and or cements, so you just really can't get around that completely. But you'd also want some of these things so people aren't always drinking plastics or direct contact with them, in that way paper would be the more productive use of food materials, because then that could be recycled instead of using plastics for everything that do have a danger of being carcinogens. So, you might not get your plastic jug of milk, but you'll have your plastic carton of milk. So, it's just a matter of consumer convenience. I mean, consumers becoming more accustomed to a different standard of product, of packaging. And from all that, you could have a localized electrical source And you'd have, now this is the hard part, you have to balance the population in conjunction with the land production. So that means there is a population capacity issue, because you have to have enough energy to provide enough resources for everyone to have adequate care, units of energy, standard of living, and productivity. Well, not productivity, provision. Productivity is what you would put in. Provision is what you get out. So you see, if you had these little warrens or hobbles, I don't know, whatever it's called, in various places, then this would be a functional system. At least I think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something technical, but it seems like the best idea for a balanced society between nature, the needs of the people, and the productivity of the system, or the capacity of the system, if you see what I mean. So that's the solution. I just don't see protesting what's been used in media since the friggin' 40s, you know? My God, I've read all my life about friggin', well, here comes the friggin' resource war, you know, okay, we're going to be depleted of energy and overpopulated pretty soon. Oh, here it comes. Oh gosh, here it is. Shock. You know, all the science fiction from friggin', from friggin' 1950 to now has been about friggin' where we're pretty much are. We're here. You know? It's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.